President Trump has issued a warning to the Supreme Court after their bombshell ruling. And the audio tapes of Robert Hur and Joe Biden's interview has now been released, and House Republicans continue to make a fool of themselves.
Internationally, the U.S. Supreme Court today blocked the Trump administration from moving forward with deportations using the 1798 John Adams signed Alien Enemies Act. The ruling applies to a group of immigrants in northern Texas specifically. The justices sent the case back to an appeals court to decide other underlying questions. This is obviously not the end of this. President Trump reacted with a social media post complaining in caps, all caps, the Supreme Court won't allow us to get criminals out of our country.
And the president had more to say on this ruling. Here it is. The Supreme Court has just ruled that the worst murderers, drug dealers, gang members, and even those who are mentally insane who came into our country illegally are not allowed to be forced out without going through a long, protracted, and expensive legal process. One that will take possibly many years for each person, and one that will allow these people to commit many crimes before they even see the inside of a courthouse. And let me just skip to the end here. Sleepy Joe Biden allowed millions of criminal aliens to come into our country without any process. But in order to get them out of our country, we have to go through a long and extended process. In any event, thank you to Justice Alito and Justice Thomas for attempting to protect our country. This is a bad and dangerous day for America. Now, before I give you my opinion, here is Senator Kennedy and what he had to say about this.
Do you think that's the right call?
Well, actually, I haven't read the whole opinion, but I've read the news excerpts. I think what the Supreme Court did was just extend its hold, if you will. I don't think they've reached the merits yet. It's an interesting case. The statute is old, passed in 1798. It basically says a president can deport migrants without due process if the country is being invaded by another nation. And the President Trump says, well, these MS-13 guys have the support of Maduro in Venezuela. I think the case is going to turn on the facts, but I don't think the Supreme Court has ultimately ruled yet. They have extended the hold, though. That's what I've read.
All right. Well, number one, this is not a major setback for the Trump administration, even though that's what mainstream media wants you to believe. And the reason why I say that is because these group of migrants, who this ruling only applies to, by the way, it was already on hold. And the Supreme Court did not rule on the merits. That's number one. Number two, Congress needs to step up and codify these executive orders from President Trump. All he can do is issue executive orders, but sooner or later, that's not going to get it done. Congress needs to create laws that supports what he's doing. And until they do so, this will continue to happen. Now, here is what some people on CNN actually think about this from a more political perspective. Take a look.
I think people do care about process, actually. And I think what the American people, to echo you for a second, unlikely echo, don't want people coming into the country illegally, but they don't want people being deported illegally either, which is what's happened. But what's so fascinating is thinking about this from the president's point of view, that this takes the edge off his shiny new toy, the plane from Qatar, right? The $400 million plane that he has greedily accepted. And I think he was expecting to come back and take a victory lap. And in fact, what he's got is a MAGA meltdown over both this and, of course, his big shiny bill, which has also get kicked back today.
Okay, well, you tell me that you hate President Trump without telling me you hate President Trump, because that's exactly how she sounded, right? She didn't even really attack President Trump on the merits. This is all just partisan talking points as usual from CNN. And the reality is MAGA is not melting down because of what the Supreme Court said today, because they didn't even rule on the merits. So there's that. Now, the next story is a reason why what President Trump is doing is so important, trying to keep Americans safe. Listen to this.
I mean, this one's getting a lot of attention, and we're going to get to this Jim Comey story in just a moment. But I want to tell you this right now. This is breaking right now. An exclusive out of Fairfax, Virginia, that involves the arrest of a documented MS-13 member. National correspondent Griff Jenkins breaking this news for us, and he joins me now with more. Hi, Griff.
Yeah, Martha, this is unbelievable. Talk about a sanctuary jurisdiction shielding a criminal alien in Fairfax County. In this case, Fox just exclusively learning from ICE, they arrested an illegal Guatemalan alien earlier this week named Michael Santos, a documented MS-13 gang member. Martha, he has more than 15 pages of criminal history in ICE's database. He was arrested some 30 times by Fairfax County police, and ICE has lodged 16 different immigration detainers against him in the past 3 years, all of which have been denied. Now, ICE made the arrest on May 12th, and ICE tells Fox News this in a statement, quote, "We find it inexcusable that local law enforcement refused to honor 16 separate immigration detainers against Santos, forcing ICE officers to make an at-large arrest where one of our officers was injured." And get this, between February 20th, 2020 and May 8th, 2025, Fairfax County Police arrested Santos on those 30 times, charging him with things like assault and battery, drug possession, intent to distribute, burglary, theft, larceny, trespassing, property damage, and the list goes on and on.
Yeah, so this is the type of story that just shows you that Democrats don't believe criminal illegal aliens is a big problem in our country. They just don't believe it. I'm going to show you in this next clip their thinking around it. In fact, they're more scared of ICE agents than they are criminal illegal aliens. It's disgusting. Remember, President Trump's sole purpose here is to keep Americans safe. And the reality is, Democrats, that's not their priority. And I'm going to prove it to you in this next clip. This is a city official out of Arlington, Virginia, explaining that he believes banning police from working with ICE agents actually makes the city safer. Take a listen.
Does this new policy change make legal residents of Arlington County safer? Yes or no?
Make all residents of Arlington County safer.
How?
Because it allows our police to do their job, and not only that, it allows that the existing connections of trust that we have worked over decades to build, they are restored. So people are not worried about immigration, which is irrelevant. If we are prosecuting a crime, immigration is irrelevant.
But if you have confirmed gang members in Arlington County, if you have terrorists, if you have human traffickers,
we will arrest them.
But you don't want to hand them over to ICE?
No. This is not the. Our job is to arrest them, to prosecute them, and to bring them before a court of justice.
ICE says this is going to make Arlington County a magnet for terrorists, gang members, and human traffickers.
You're wrong with that.
If that happens, if it happens, are you going to reverse this policy?
No.
Carantonis told me the goal of his policy is to help illegal immigrants feel comfortable with reporting crimes to local police. I asked him if he had data that showed they stopped calling police. The short answer is no.
Okay, so I really had to take a deep breath here because this story is, it really gets my blood boiling, okay? Let me just say this calmly. Local law enforcement are already busy trying to arrest and investigate American citizens who are committing crimes. What makes you think they have time for illegal aliens, especially when illegal aliens start to catch on that this is a sanctuary city and that local law enforcement barely has the resources to catch them committing crimes? And so, again, this is not going to make the city or county safer. This is a complete joke. And Democrats, like I told you guys, their number one priority is what? Fighting against Trump. That's exactly what this bill is truly all about. Now, Tom Homan also gave an interview earlier today in regards to Boston and their whole sanctuary city status. But what he's saying also applies to all these sanctuary cities across the country and what ICE plans to do about it. Take a listen.
But, bottom line is she continues to say it's not a sanctuary state. And every week I get a report of public safety threats released from counties within that state without notifying ICE. Very serious, people. And will I go back to Massachusetts? Absolutely. We're going to flood the zone. Sanctuary cities. If we can't arrest the bad guy in the jail, we're going to flood the zone because that's the places we need to target because we know for a fact they're releasing public safety threats in the community. We see the reports. So where's the biggest concern? Sanctuary cities, because we know we don't have that problem in Florida and most of Texas because we know our detainers are honored unless public safety threats are hitting the street. But in sanctuary cities where we know public safety threats are released to the streets every day, that's where we're going to concentrate the resources. That's where we flood the zone. We're going to flood the zone officers in the community. We're going to flood the zone officers on worksite enforcement. If they don't let us arrest the bad guy in the jail, then we'll arrest him in the community, and we'll arrest him at the worksite.
Okay, so that was Tom Homan. And the most profound point that he made is that you don't hear this happening in Texas or Florida. And the reason why, which I'm sure you know, local law enforcement, they're allowed to cooperate with ICE. That's exactly the way it should be. You would want, overall, these agencies the ability to communicate with each other. It just blows my mind. And now we go to our next story, where mainstream media continues to act surprised in regards to Joe Biden's mental decline. Axios has released the audio tapes of Robert Hur and Joe Biden's interview, and now everybody's talking about it. Let's start here.
Breaking news audio just released of then President Biden's interview with special counsel Robert Hur. The interview led Hur to describe Biden as a, quote, elderly man with a poor memory, words that ricochet, of course, now. Axios just releasing the audio where Biden appears to struggle to remember when Donald Trump was elected.
Trump gets elected in November of 2017? 2016. All right. So, why do I have 2017 here?
That's when you left office, in January of 2017.
Okay. But that's when Trump gets sworn in.
Right.
January.
Right. Correct.
Okay. Yeah. Correct.
Now, that was just a quick clip of the audio tape. There's way more. But guys, I know you know this already. Everybody's known that he should have never been president because he was not mentally fit. What's so disturbing to me is that CNN is acting shocked by this audio tape. I guess they just didn't know it was this bad. And they want the American people to believe them on that. And I'm just not going to buy it, okay? Because I think that's just a bunch of bull. This is them looking to make money off of this situation. Now, President Trump did respond to the releasing of this audio tape. Here's what he had to say.
I know people that are 89, 90, 92, 93 years old that are literally perfect. But Joe was not one of them. And they did a lot of hiding. They were really playing games. And, you know, you can't do that. Our country's at stake. You see, even a thing like this, there's so many decisions for billions and billions, but then you have even more important decisions. You have decisions for life. And you can't have a man in that condition. And everybody was holding back, including the press, including the media.
Now, here's a question I'd love for you guys to answer in the comment section. What is more devastating? The fact that Joe Biden was mentally unfit, or that mainstream media covered it up and refused to do what they were supposed to do, which is really the whole purpose of their jobs, which is to investigate and report the facts. They refused to when it came to Joe Biden. I know you know that. Now, here is smug Jake Tapper taking advantage of the situation, trying to act like he was shocked by this audio tape. Take a look.
Jake, I mean, you're reporting, obviously, talk about ricocheting around the world with so much impact. You know, when we see these words before in transcripts, right, we'd seen them. But it is different to hear them, right, when you actually hear him talk.
Yeah, it's worse. It's far worse. I mean, the words were bad in transcript, but hearing them really just brings to light the degree to which there were times when he just could not function as you would want a president to function.
Yeah, of course. We know that, Jake. We've been knowing that. Where were you at this whole time? Right? And it's almost as if these people are so smart that they're dumb. You think you're going to run this story about Joe Biden now and think American citizens are going to respect you guys? Absolutely not. In fact, I think this hinders their credibility, or whatever's left of their credibility, even more. Now, here's Tim Pool with Jesse Waters saying what I just said. Take a look.
So now is it clear why they withheld this audio?
Yes, I think it was clear to us the whole time. I think it's fascinating that the narrative they're trying to run now is we missed the story. We just were completely unaware this thing had been happening. You know what I'm thinking the whole time we're playing these clips is there are a lot of liberal news institutions, powerful newspapers that like to refer to someone like me as conservative simply for noticing that the sitting president was infirm. He was incapable of doing his job. When they released the transcript, immediately, anybody who's rational says, let's hear the tape. I mean, you're saying we're not going to prosecute this guy while claiming Donald Trump did the same thing but should be prosecuted. We want to hear what happened and why. And they withhold it. Now they have the nerve to come out and claim, you know, is it the White House Correspondents' Dinner or whatever? Oh, whoopsie. We just missed this one the whole time. I don't understand how regular people sitting at home, saw this happen, and these journalists claim they had no idea what was going on.
And Tim is absolutely spot on, because ultimately this is one of the many things on the list where the White House and mainstream media continued to gaslight everyday Americans. And that's why nobody trusts what they say. Now let's go back down memory lane. Here's a clip showing Adam Schiff grilling Robert Hur about his report. It just shows you how aggressive Democrats were when it came to defending Joe Biden at that time. Take a look.
What is in the rules, Mr. Hur, what is in the rules is you don't gratuitously do things to prejudice the subject of an investigation when you're declining to prosecute. You don't gratuitously add language that you know will be useful in a political campaign. You were not born yesterday. You understood exactly what you were doing. It was a choice. You certainly didn't have to include that language. You could have said vis-a-vis the documents that were found at the university, the president did not recall. There is nothing more common. You know this. I know this. There is nothing more common with a witness of any age when asked about events that are years old to say, I do not recall. Indeed, they're instructed by their attorney to do that if they have any question about it. You understood that. You made a choice. That was a political choice. It was the wrong choice. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Arizona. Did special counsel wish to respond to that final question?
Yes, Congressman, what you are suggesting is that I shape, sanitize, omit portions of my reasoning and explanation to the Attorney General for political reasons.
No, I suggest that you not shape your report for political reasons, which is what you did.
That did not happen, Congressman. That did not happen.
Guys, just look at his face. He's clearly possessed. This is more proof that Democrats do not belong in power. But every day they wake up, they're claiming that President Trump is the one that doesn't belong in power. But last time I checked, President Trump was not trying to cover up the mental decline of a sitting president. Last time I checked, President Trump wasn't attacking a straight shooter, the prosecutor who investigated Joe Biden. So there you go. And now we go to our other breaking story, and that is Trump's big, beautiful bill, which failed to make it out of committee due to Republicans. Let's hear more details on this.
Conservatives have blocked President Trump's so-called big, beautiful bill for now. House Republicans failed to push it out of the Budget Committee today. 4 GOP lawmakers initially voted against it, demanding further cuts to Medicaid and green energy tax breaks. A fifth switched his vote in a procedural step so it could be voted on again later. House GOP leadership remains optimistic that they can pass the bill by the end of next week.
The 5 Republicans who voted against it wasn't exactly a shock. Like, they had been projecting this for some time now, saying they had problems with the bill. They didn't think it cut spending far enough. They didn't think it went far enough in terms of Medicaid reforms and in some cases Medicaid cuts. They wanted to see that, and ultimately they didn't, so they couldn't bring themselves to a yes. So where are we now? The budget chairman, Jody Arrington, says there's going to be a Sunday night, 10 p.m. session. That is incredibly rare, but that is the reality now. The clock is ticking for Republican leaders to try to get these 5 Republicans back on board. That means they're going to have to make changes to the bill.
Now, the 5 Republicans who voted no on this was Chip Roy, Josh Bresshen, Andrew Clyde, Ralph Norman, and Lloyd Smucker of Pennsylvania voiced a mix of frustration and principle. And I think the better question is, even if this passed in the House, will it pass in the Senate? CNN says no.
But if it gets to the House, is it even guaranteed that it will pass the Senate?
Well, it's certainly not going to pass the Senate in its current form. And you're already seeing a number of Republicans who are voicing concerns about some of the changes to Medicaid. Senator Josh Hawley has been clear he doesn't like the direction that that's going. You also have Republicans like Ron Johnson, a conservative, who says that this bill is just too expensive. He wants to see steeper spending cuts. And you can see how there are some huge divisions there, that if you make Ron Johnson happy, you might upset Josh Hawley over those Medicaid cuts. So that is the tension in the Senate. And again, they are going to have to make some changes because they aren't completely satisfied with the House product either. I mean, the Ways and Means chairman in the House is a very different member than the Senate Finance Committee chairman. So they both have very different views of the way that this tax bill should be moving forward.
And here's what President Trump had to say on Truth Social. Republicans must unite behind the one big, beautiful bill. Not only does it cut taxes for all Americans, but it will kick millions of illegal aliens off of Medicaid to protect it for those who are the ones in real need. The country will suffer greatly without this legislation, with their taxes going up by 65%. It will be blamed on the Democrats, but that doesn't help our voters. We don't need grandstanders in the Republican Party. Stop talking and get it done. It's time to fix the mess that Biden and the Democrats gave us. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And the point that I agree with him on is this. Republicans have been complaining all day long for the past 4 years about all of these policies. And now that they're in charge, what are they doing to actually rectify it? And here is Senator Kennedy in his message to House Republicans. Take a look.
In over 300,000 years of human history, nobody's ever calmed down when they're told to calm down. So I'm not going to tell my House friends to calm down, but I would tell them to gently, number one, take their meds, and number two, keep their eye on the ultimate objective. The ultimate objective here is, yes, to reduce spending, and I can come back to that, but number one is to extend the tax cuts. If we do not extend the tax cuts, on December 31st of this year, there will be a $4.3 trillion increase on the American people. Hundreds of thousands of people will be thrown out of work. A lot of those will end up living in a refrigerator box behind Outback. We can avoid that by extending the tax cuts. And that's the main objective. The second objective is reducing spending. That will lower prices. It will. It'll lower interest rates. I'm asked all the time, Casey, how much spending do you want to reduce? I want to reduce as much spending as we can until we run out of votes. But everybody's not going to walk away from this happy. You can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, and we'll never get it resolved until Trump weighs in.
Yeah, and again, this speaks to my frustration. I'm sure you're frustrated as well. And that is the fact that what has Republicans done to codify the executive orders from President Trump? I'm not even talking about his tax cuts that we already know should have been passed by now, permanently. But the fact that they haven't even done that, and they've yet to even touch any of his executive orders, I mean, this is a train waiting to crash. And what I mean by that is in the midterms. If Republicans cannot figure this out, they might as well accept that the midterms will be another significant loss for the party. And I know that will definitely upset President Trump and the MAGA base. Now, let's actually get your reaction to some of these stories in the comment section below. What do you make of the media acting surprised in regards to these audio tapes from Robert Hur when he interviewed Joe Biden? I know you already knew of his mental decline. I just think it's fascinating. They're acting like they are so surprised all of a sudden. And what do you think about the bombshell ruling from the Supreme Court, which is delaying President Trump from deporting those migrants out of North Texas using the Alien Enemies Act? Let me know your thoughts about all of this in the comment section below. Now, earlier today, a poll showing President Trump's approval rating stuns CNN, and another federal judge issues a nationwide injunction. If you want to check out that video, more stories from earlier today, all you have to do is click on it because it's coming up right now.